And Jessup joins me on the podcast today to talk about her journey from infertility to 4 babies.
I was diagnosed with premature ovarian failure. So he was like, your egg count is very, very, very low and you're not producing estrogen. You need to start thinking about going on hormone replacement.
Full of wisdom beyond her years, Ange shares insights that led her to make the decisions that she did around her birth choices.
As I crossed that rite of passage into motherhood, I started to feel the ramifications of that.
And how she feels all women should be able to choose what is right for them.
What is lost for me is like, well, hang on, it's the mother that gets to choose. It's the mother that gets to sit down and clarify for herself. It's not for anyone else to decide.
Do you ever feel like your energy's tanking, foggy, and tired all the time? Yeah, me too. Turns out that this could be low iron levels. Did you know 1 in 3 of us are iron deficient, and so many of the supplements out there are synthetic, they're harsh on your gut, and your body doesn't absorb them as well. What I love about Great Spirit is that their iron range is organic, it's made right here in Australia, and it's whole food based. So you're getting bioavailable minerals and nutrients. They've got thousands of happy customers, and honestly, the testimonials on their site are incredible. So if you want to check them out, you can head to greatspirit.com.au and use the code Keshia20 to get 20% off your first order. Enjoy the energy boost. Before we get into today's show, I firstly want to thank you for being here. It is because you tune in each week that I'm able to continue on, and I really appreciate your support. Secondly, if you enjoy the content, please head on over to the homepage of the show. Hit subscribe, like, share, and please review the channel. It would mean the world. This is a small way you can contribute to better guests and greater conversations. You're listening to Return to Wisdom with Keshia. Welcome everyone to Return to Wisdom. Today I am so excited to introduce you all to my friend Angela. Can I call you Angela?
Eating chocolate.
Yeah, Angela's eating chocolate. We actually have a little special guest in the studio today, Mimi, a little bit Bubba. She's not feeling 100%, so if this recording feels a little jolty, I may have cut out some stuff. Pre-warning. A few little baby goos and gars and maybe a settle every now and then. So today, I guess we are hoping to get through Angie's birth stories because you've had quite the journey.
Yeah.
Anyway, before I get into that, welcome, Ange.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so impressed with the pod.
Pod Byron? Yeah.
Awesome.
I
It's
know.
very cool.
I know. And it keeps getting better.
I know, and
Yeah.
I'm seeing you in your natural habitat.
Yes, this is me.
So good.
Supernatural. Yeah.
So good. Well, doing your thing.
Yeah. No, I know. Doing this,
Mm.
chatting
It's good.
like you don't get enough.
I know, like I don't get enough of you.
But now I get to listen to you.
I know.
So today we're going to go through your journey into motherhood,
Yeah.
basically. So we've got 4 bubbas and they were big. And yeah, you know what? I'm going to let everyone have the surprise of going through your
Okay.
journey. So I guess we'll start with Bruno, your oldest.
Yeah, so gosh, where to start? So I guess we'll start with Nick and I because,
Start from the
let's
start.
start from the start
Yeah.
because it was pretty soon after Nick and I officially landed together as a couple. There was a bit of like argy-bargy, which I won't get into for maybe 12 months beforehand. And then we ended up moving in together.
Mm-hmm.
And we lived together for 3 months. And I think I was 28 at the time. And I hadn't had my bleed for 8 years. Yeah. So it came back. I think I actually started doing yoga. I started doing kinesiology, and my period came back.
Do you Can we go quickly into why you were, is it oh my God, what's the word?
Oh, when you're out without a bleed.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Anna Maria, is that it?
Anna Maria.
Anna Maria.
Sounds wrong.
It sounds so wrong.
Well, I think I initially I was told that I had polycystic ovaries.
Okay.
And then I definitely had cysts on my ovaries because, I had the ultrasounds and things. And then a couple of years after that, I was diagnosed with premature ovarian failure. Yeah, which is pretty intense.
That's
I
a
think
bit
I was
extreme.
21 at that point, 21 or 22. And when I was 27, I went into and I still hadn't had a bleed. I went into a gynecologist in Randwick. We lived in Sydney for about 7 years. And he took my bloods. I think he did is it the AHA or they test the quantity of your eggs
Oh,
and not the quality.
yeah, okay.
So he was like, your egg count is very, very, very low, and you're not producing estrogen. You're on you need to start thinking about going on hormone replacement for, because you're at risk of osteoporosis. And yeah, it was wild. And he said to me, I would highly recommend freezing your eggs now because the chances of you having children are very, very slim. So
When you were 21.
this was when I was 27,
Okay.
when I was in Sydney.
Yep.
And I remember having this conversation with Nick, and I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm not going to be able to have kids. And I kind of had thought I had been told that before, but I never really took it seriously until this gynecologist was like, you need to freeze your eggs.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad, bless, was like, if you need to freeze your eggs, I'll pay for it. And I was like, actually, I really don't feel like I'm going to have to. It feels separate from me. I remember receiving it and being like, no, that doesn't feel true. It doesn't feel true for me. And shortly after, Nick and I decided, we may as well give it a go. And oh no, that's not actually what happened at all. Then I started practicing yoga, a lot of yoga, and really kind of focused on my lifestyle, and just started eating better. I was vegetarian. I was still vegetarian, but I was more conscious around what I was eating, and making sure that it was really nutrient dense. And I started doing some healing work and working with a kinesiologist. And then over a year's time, I went back to this same gynecologist because my bleed came back. And I was like, what is going on? And he took all of my, the same tests again. And he was like, oh, you're all normal now. I'm like, what? Hang on. Yeah.
And this is with no hormone replacement.
No.
No, nothing. So you have gone from you need to freeze your eggs and you are infertile to
my bleed
now
coming back.
Your bleeds come back and now you're completely
And I
normal.
was like, how is this
Were you on the pill or anything?
I was on the pill from 18 to 22 or something.
Okay, and then you just never got a bleed back after you went off the pill.
Yeah.
That is wild.
I know.
That is absolutely wild.
I know.
What the actual fuck?
I know.
Sorry, everyone. But that is insane.
I know.
Because you've gone,
This is
my mind is
the
swimming.
walking dummy. What is it?
Poster child?
Yeah, it's a poster child. I'm a poster child for why you don't go on the pill.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think, are there any women who didn't have side effects from the pill, who haven't had something occur? But my mind is swimming about all the women who would have been in your position, panicked, and gone and frozen eggs.
I know.
And then at, 35, 40, when they're feeling ready for a child, come back and the stories are countless of not one of them was viable.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Not one of them was viable. That was my backup option. That's what they told me
Yeah.
to do. And like, not to mention the process of actually extracting eggs is unbelievably
I know.
horrific.
Yeah.
But and then to get to the stage where you're ready and you're told that you're going to like now you're going to be able to conceive.
Yeah,
And it's just
exactly.
and without any of that, you did some yoga, you changed your diet
Yeah.
and saw a kinesiologist.
Yeah. Wow.
Jesus.
So Nick and I, from there, I was like, well, my bleed is back. I'm 28 now. Maybe we should just, like, we were, so in love and wanted to spend the rest of our lives together, and really in that kind of fiery, passionate, season of the relationship, and definitely not in a position to start a family. Like, we lived in a group house in North Bondi, but we were like, well, why not? We'll just try.
Yeah.
So we tried, and I fell pregnant straight away.
Infertile as anything.
I know. And I remember when I found out I was pregnant, we went out for dinner and we didn't say a word to each other. We just kind of sat there and like stared at each other. Like, what now? Like, can I order a glass of wine? I don't even know. Like, I don't think so. Like, I was so clueless about anything to do with pregnancy or motherhood. I had no babies in my life. I had no friends with children. It was just completely out of left field. Everything was new. It was a massive learning curve. And I felt really lost during that pregnancy, I remember, and being like, what do we do? What do we do? Like, who do I see? Do I go to the doctor? The doctor didn't really have any answers for me either. It was like, you wait for 12 weeks and then you go get this scan. So that's what we did. And during that time, we moved out. Nick and I got in place together, and we did a grown-up thing and went and got our own rental. And I got to 13 weeks and I had the scan, and the baby didn't have a heartbeat. So that was a devastating outcome of that pregnancy, and really hit me very hard. It was wild. It was a miscarriage. So I remember getting to about 9 weeks and being on the phone to my mum and being like, I actually feel normal again. Like, I don't feel sick. This is great. Like, maybe it's just come early. And I never once thought, oh, I've lost the baby, because I just didn't know. I thought you had a miscarriage and you start bleeding. So the baby's heartbeat had stopped at 9 weeks. So it was like exactly when I started to feel better. And then it just cemented, I think, that whole experience. I had to have a D&C. It wouldn't pass naturally. And I remember just being like shell shocked during that time. And yeah, really kind of understood then this like passage of life and death, and the fragility and unpredictability and the mystery that is birth and pregnancy. And then we tried again the next month, and I fell pregnant straight away because I'm so infertile.
So infertile.
And yeah, I think that like I still kind of carried the grief of that miscarriage with me. And I remember kind of, dreading that 12-week scan. And I went through the normal process. I think I did like shared care and midwife program in the public system at Randwick. And it wasn't until the very end of that pregnancy with Bruno, who's now 8, that I started to think more seriously about the birth. I took a lot of time off before. I was working in public relations at the time in a pretty full-on job, and I stopped at 36 weeks. And then I was like, okay, now I have to think about the birth. And
At 36 weeks.
36 weeks.
Okay, good.
That's when I started prepping.
Great.
And I ended up doing a course, the She Birth course with Nadine Richardson. And that course was so amazing for where Nick and I were at that time, because he walked out really geared and armoured with what his role was in the birth space. And it's
A little
funny now.
plug for She Births, of
Which is-
course.
Yeah.
Little
Oh,
plug for
she
Nadine.
birthed.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he walked out feeling like I know what to do. I know what my job is, and he understood the the science behind birth and what birth looks like and what natural birth. And for me, I was like, I'm having a natural birth. I always wanted a natural birth, but I thought I would just do that. That's how I would do it. But having that understanding, I was like, all right, I'm good. I'm so excited. There was no fear in me. I ended up getting a doula because that was what the course told me to do. And I was like, great. We ended up with this doula who was so amazing and had a healthy, I don't know what the word is,
Perspective.
healthy perspective, and had her husband was a doctor. She was very pro natural birth, and she had seen a lot of hospital births and seen them go pear-shaped. So she was preparing for me and kind of subtly, when I kind of reflected on it, subtly letting me know that they're probably going to try and do things to me that I would need to consent for, and that I was, she was like empowering me to make my own decisions in the birth space. And I remember getting to 37 weeks and my midwife being like, so we're going to talk about induction. You're
37
coming up.
weeks.
Yeah. And I'm
Good.
like, what is this? And she's like, well, it's not safe to go beyond 40 weeks. So it's better to like start to think about induction now. And I was like, oh, okay, right. And I remember saying to Nick, oh, they're talking to me about this induction thing. And 40 weeks came along, and they were like, oh, we think we need a scan because we think the baby's, we just want to check where the placenta is, and we want to check that the baby's not too big, and the baby's not growing. The baby's not growing.
Okay.
So they're worried about the placenta. That was some story around the placenta not doing its job. And I remember Nick going like, oh my gosh, it sounds so serious. And, and I was like, I know. But I was like, I am not getting induced. I am not getting induced. I am not getting induced. And I'd educated myself on what would happen to me if I was induced, what would likely happen to me. And I'd spoken to my friend Nadine at She Births and my doula, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to be like really dig my heels in here. And when I got to 41 weeks, they came down really hard on me, and they were like, look, this baby isn't growing and you need to make a decision now about your induction. And I was like, and Nick was like, I think we should do it. And I was like, fine. So they booked me in the next day, and in my head I was like, I'm not fucking going.
Yeah.
Like I was not going.
Yeah.
And I was starting to have contractions, and I was like, I'm going to do this naturally. And by the time we'd gotten home, I'd started going into labor. And my my labor with Bruno was pretty textbook. I ended up, really, really early labor, and then had dinner. Like we watched a movie, went to bed, waters broke at like 2:00, then labor began,
Yeah.
and Bruno was born naturally, intervention free, and at I think only 6 hours later. So it was a beautiful birth.
Were you in the hospital when that
I
happened?
was in the hospital.
Okay.
And the story that I've just told you, that it was like, natural and beautiful, but I really needed to stick up for myself in that birth space. And from the moment we stepped in to the hospital, they were like, what drugs do you want to take? What drugs are you taking? They told me that they couldn't get a reading of his heart rate. They put an ECG. They were like, you can't have a water birth. They tried to wheel me out to have a C-section. They tried, I really felt like I had so much presence in the room of what was going on. I really couldn't even drop in to my body. And thank God for my doula who was there. And, she stuck up for, she was the voice of reason, because Nick was so, in fear state at that point, because he's staring at the monitor, looking at this heart rate going up and down because of the monitor slipping.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like I've heard this story so many times in hospitals, but I'm just so glad that I had that awareness of what was going on, and so glad that I had my doula there to advocate for us
And just hold that
and just hold
space
that
for you.
space. Yeah. So yeah, I think like in theory that birth was a successful hospital birth, but it took me a really long time to process it. It took
Mhm.
me I think like 7 years to actually process that birth and realize that I listened back to my birth story, and I was actually in a state of fawn, like I was in this people pleasing state, even actually telling the birth story to our doula, which she recorded. I would only tell the good parts of it, and she's like, and what about the things like, remember when they put a monitor on his head? Do you want to talk about that? Do you want to talk about
Is this the clip?
the clip?
The clip. The clip.
The clip.
The clip, for anyone who is new here, the clip is a screw that they actually screw into your baby's skull.
Yeah.
Um,
So that was something that I didn't know.
no, because they call it a clip.
Yeah,
So-
until last year, I think. Do you remember there was like a meme that was going
Yeah,
around?
yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. And that's why I listened. Actually, that's why I listened back to my birth story, and I was listening to myself, and I was like, oh,
Poor me.
this poor girl who
Mm.
is just like, I had an amazing birth. And yeah, my doula was like, do you want to talk about the bad bits? And I was like, there were no bad bits.
But and to be fair, you're in such a euphoric state, and especially the first time you have, like, you give birth, you don't know what birth.
Yeah.
Like I was in a very similar position of not having anyone around me who had given birth, and
Yeah.
not really knowing anything except for my mum, who
Yeah.
her stories were natural births, but
Mhm.
with vacuums and forceps and inductions, and it was horrifically painful, and it destroyed her body. Like that was
Yeah.
always the theme of
Yeah.
it. But like when you do give birth, you're like, oh my God, it's like
I
this shining light just comes out of your vagina, and you're like in this bliss, like euphoric bliss
Yeah.
of hormones bathing you.
Yeah.
And like Nick would have been the same.
Yeah.
So you just forget.
I know.
And it just erases the
I
bad.
know. But I think like on an energetic level and a subconscious level, as I kind of crossed that rite of passage into motherhood, I started to feel the ramifications of that, and nothing bad happened to me. Like,
Yeah.
I cannot imagine if I had actually there was intervention, or there was things that happened to me that I didn't consent, like the stories that are coming out in the parliamentary inquiry, and what we hear as women in these circles talking about our births. I cannot imagine having to go through and untangle that, but because I could feel the ramifications of having to feel like I was a warrior and defending for myself and protecting myself and my baby in that space
While
in labor.
and also like drawing the line of not upsetting anyone around you.
Totally.
It's like you have to also, it's walking that tightrope of trying to hold your values and have what you want to happen.
Yeah.
And then also you're trying to make sure that you don't rock the boat to anyone around you. So you're trying to do it in a really like, okay, but can we just wait a little bit longer? Or like, and meanwhile you're going through a contraction and you're just like,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Please.
Well, I
I'm
wasn't
not a
actually that
hysterical
night. I
woman.
remember actually being in a contraction, having a contraction in that hospital setting, and the doctor who was trying to wheel me away for my emergency C-section being like, asking my doula, is she having a contraction right now? And I'm like, are you fucking serious?
Surely you should know this.
Kidding? Like that moment, I was like, wow, insightful. So yeah, I think that kind of experience was really necessary and paved the way for my birth choices moving forward. And with Rose, it was a little bit different. Like, we didn't go through the hospital system per se. I mean, I got a private midwife. We lived in country Victoria, and I tried to have a home birth with Rose, but there was no one in the area who would come in. Well, there was no one in the area, but there was no one that would travel a few hours from Melbourne to come and be at the birth. Luckily, because it was a 4-hour birth and no one would have made it anyway. Luckily, or maybe not. And there was a small country town hospital nearby that we were planning to go and birth in. And I remember being in this small country town, and in the health food shop, of course, there was a woman, and I was telling her, I'm like, I can't find a midwife that will come and be at the birth. And she was like, well, there is this woman. And I was like, what?
Health food shops? Like PSA. If you are really stuck where you are and you need to like find someone for a treatment of some sort, or like some underground lay midwife, or go to your health food shop and just sneakily
So I
lay down the foundations with someone.
Exactly. I had no idea what this woman was talking about. I was like, what? There's this what kind of woman that would just come to my birth? Is she a midwife? I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, very, very like boringly normal birth with Rose. Amazing. Like, actually one of my most straightforward births. Like, I went into labor. I was standing in a coffee shop, 10 a.m., went home, got someone to come look after Bruno, went to the hospital, was there for 20 minutes, birthed Rose with this old midwife who was in her 70s named Jo, and she was amazing. And it was just very straightforward and beautiful. And Rose was a little bit posterior. She came through in the birth canal and like twisted around and came out. And yeah, it was true to Rose's form, very straightforward so far, touch wood, very straightforward and very quick, and 4 hours, beautiful birth. And I remember the process during that pregnancy being, I felt so empowered and so connected to myself and what I wanted to do. I was like, I am not stepping foot into the hospital system in the same way as I did before. I think we had one scan with Rose. Yeah, it was just, I just did it, whatever I felt like when I felt like it. And I didn't feel anywhere near the same battle that I did going through that public system. It was really beautiful. And I spent a lot of time on my own, like, because we lived rurally. We had 40 acres. We were 10 minutes out of town. And there was lots of bushwalking and lots of time at home with Bruno. And it's just such a sweet time. And I think that really was reflected in the birth, and just like that postpartum after. It was so beautiful. Yeah. And then moving on to the next birth. We're halfway through.
Really quickly. No, but I do want to ask, just because there's obviously a lot of banter happening in the birth world about unregistered birth workers, doulas, lay midwives, and birth keepers. So for Rose's birth, did you have like essentially continuity of care with a lay midwife?
Yeah, so I had a private midwife. Her name was Barb. She was from Wodonga.
Yeah, Barb from Wodonga.
And there was continuity of care, but for me, it was coming from a place of empowerment. I felt really comfortable having gone through the process before, to being like, no, I'm not getting this, I'm not getting that. I'm not coming to see you. I feel fine. There was like, I felt more, I didn't feel like I needed a doula with Rose. I just didn't. And,
Yeah.
but I would have if I wanted to. I mean, I was so present to what I needed in the moment because I had so much space, and so much belief in my body after my birth with Bruno.
Mm.
Yeah, I was just really attuned to what I needed. So yeah, I didn't choose to have a doula, but yeah, that continuity of care with an aligned midwife then
Yeah.
was like hugely important to me, that
Yeah.
it was also on my own terms.
Yeah.
Mm,
Okay. Cool.
mm. So
Moving forward.
moving forward, so we had Solly here in Byron. We lived in Mullum not when I fell pregnant with Solly, but when towards the end of my pregnancy, we lived in Mullum. And I decided to go through the home birth program at
Yep.
the Byron Hospital. I
Can I ask your reasons for choosing that and not another private midwife?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting one. I did. I think I had a few people that I knew that had gone through Byron,
Mm-hmm.
and it just seemed like the easiest and best option for
Yeah.
me at the time. I don't know. Yeah, I was just like, I feel like, yeah, this is the route that we're going to go down. I got to about 30 weeks in my pregnancy, and I really wasn't gelling with the midwife that I had. And I decided then that I would have a private midwife. And I reached out to maybe 3 different private midwives, and I had them all scheduled in to come on the Monday to meet them. And I was, about to can my Byron Hospital experience. And we woke up at 7 a.m. and the house was flooding. So on the Monday morning, they were all coming over. So they didn't quite make it.
Didn't make it.
Didn't
Couldn't
quite
get
make
through
it.
that
Couldn't
shoulder
get
height
through that shoulder height
water.
water. So yeah, there was we were going through those massive floods, and I kept in contact and trying to organize to re-meet with these midwives. And because I was already in Byron and there were so many women that had lost their care, they were like, we need to prioritize the people that don't have midwifery care. So, which can, fair enough.
There was a few big moves that happened around that time where like the Lismore birth house had closed.
Yeah, that's right.
And a lot of women then needed to seek alternative care.
Yeah.
And there was quite a bit going on.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of, there was midwives that were affected by the floods.
Yeah.
So they had to drop their
Clients.
birth
Yeah.
and all their pregnant women and pass them on to other home birth midwives. So there was a lot of movement, and I was like, okay, I must just be, this is my destiny. And we had a doula, which I chose to have a doula at Solly's birth. I don't know why. Again, I was like, I feel like it's true to us to have a little bit of extra support with the kids. And we had just moved into temporary accommodation because we lost our house. It was just a rental, but we lost all of our things. It was a pretty yucky time for everybody here. And we moved to a place called Brooklet, which is just behind Newry Bar. So we were planning on having a home birth. And then so interesting reflecting on it, because you really are just bringing the system into your home when you are home. We're having a home birth, and you have to be prepared for that. So I still felt really up against, like I had to kind of remember going in and meeting with my midwife and like feeling like, all right, brace myself for these conversations, and, really put myself in a protective sphere. And I don't know, just this feeling. I had like, why do I have to go through this, again? And then I get to 41 weeks and the same conversations. Like, if you don't go into labor in the next week, then you can't be in our program anymore, and you're going to have to go to Tweed. And I remember looking at Nick and being like, I'm not going to Tweed, so I need you to be on board with me just giving birth in this living room. And he was like, I'm on board. I'm like, okay. And I said to my doula, are you on board? She's like, I'm on board. I'm like, great. And I didn't like shouldn't say that, not to my taste, as they would say at our Steiner school.
It's not
This midwife was not to my taste, and we just didn't gel. So I was quite happy to like the prospect of doing it on our own. I, again, had experienced birth twice, had a huge, belief in my body, and I was just, ready for it. And my midwife ended up getting COVID, and so she was out for a week. I think it was like the 7-day rule that you had to go into isolation at that point. And we had another midwife, and she was amazing. We loved her, and she's like, I will come in for your birth. And I was like, I would love her to come in for the birth if I go into labor on the weekend. And I ended up going into labor on the weekend. So I think I went into labor at 1 a.m. and by 2:30 I was like pushing, and we thought that this beautiful midwife, Chris, was going to turn up, and it was my original midwife, and I was like, oh gosh. And as soon as she entered the space, it was just completely overrun by her energy. I feel like I'm a pretty energetically sensitive person at the best of times, but during the birth, when I'm in birth and in that portal, I liken it to, and I feel like this is like for all women, kind of like a droplet in a pond, and you just feel the ripples of someone stepping into that space. And it was overwhelming, and it completely took me out. I just felt the frustration. It didn't take me out of my process. I was pretty much pushing at that stage, but I remember being like, ugh. And she was talking at me, like trying to direct me completely. We'd had a couple of conversations about her sitting back and letting me do my thing, but she came in and really overrun the space. And then Solly came in like a lightning bolt, true to Solly, who is a turbo. But he came in, beautiful birth in front of the fireplace. My kids were there. It was beautiful. I went to the bedroom, laid down with Solly on my chest, and about an hour later, the midwife walks in and she says, okay, I need you to go to the toilet before I can go. And I was like, okay, yeah, fine. So I gave the baby to Nick, gave Solly to Nick, and when I stood up, there was a gush of blood because, I'd just given birth and blood was pooling in my vagina. And she completely freaked out, and I went and sat on the toilet, and she's like, I need you back with your baby. You shouldn't leave your baby when you're bleeding. And I was like, okay, do you need me to go to the toilet? What do you want me to do here? And she's like, go back to bed and get the baby on you. And I was like, okay. And I laid down, put Solly back on my chest. And then she grabbed her 2 fingers and went boom in my belly. And I grabbed her hand and I was like, can you please not touch me without asking? And she said, mind you, my 5-year-old and my 3-year-old were standing by the bed next to me. And she said, do you want to die? And I said, get out of my bedroom.
Oh.
So she left, and my doula was there at the time, and I just was like, can you believe that she just said that? I was so angry. And yeah, oh gosh, it brings tears to my eyes just thinking about it. And she didn't come back for an hour, and she came back and she apologized, and I was like, like, it's fine. And then she left. And yeah, it just, oh, I cannot tell you how important it is. And I think, of course, birth workers know this, but the energy that you bring into the space and those when you're, you're so open after birth, things just penetrate into your psyche and into your subconscious. And that was just such a just a jolt, to hear, especially in front of my beautiful kids and at that time. And yeah, that was just,
Can we sit on that point for a second?
yeah.
Because again, with all the talk about unregistered birth workers, and by unregistered, I mean any kind of birth worker who's not sitting under a body, like controlled by a body of something. So RANSCOG is like the body for obstetricians, and I think nurses that deal with obstetrics within the hospital system. And then there's a group for the midwives. I can't remember what it's called. It's got its own letters. But it's just like this registration. They're governed by a body of rules that they must stick to, which I think often manifests within within the system as a lot of fear. It puts them in a position where, like, I can see that your midwife was not considering you as a human going through this massive initiation into motherhood, but as a patient that if she doesn't tick all the boxes, she will get in trouble.
Yeah.
That's where the concern is.
Yeah.
So when she's walking into your space, she doesn't give a rat's ass about what you're going through
No.
and the kind of setup that you have created to bring your child into the world, which is an experience that needs reverence.
Yeah.
She's like purely thinking about how she's going to cover her ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we have unregistered birth workers, doulas, lay midwives, and birth keepers, because they're not governed by these bodies, they are able to be with the woman.
Yeah.
Is that what you have found, having two different, like, I mean, you've experienced a lot of different people in the birth world.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of boxes that need to be ticked through the system that potentially mean that your body or you as a woman may not, tick the box. Do you know what I mean? I just feel like, we're not machines. We're women. So we're never going. I feel like you're saving. Gosh, what am I trying to say?
You're not standard. Like there's like a golden standard, I guess, that they're looking for. And the boxes are like some medium group of women, but it doesn't actually account for the women who, like, I mean, so say you had pooling of blood and you got up and there was a gush of blood. Did you pass out? Were you gone green in the face? Did you have ringing in your ears? Did you lose vision? Like all of these things are extended questions we can ask.
So it's such a big question. I think I'm struggling with it because I feel like if you're choosing to birth through the system, you have to be aware that there are these boxes that need to be ticked. And you also need to be aware that you have the power to say no and to choose what you want within that system. You may need to sign a piece of paper off, giving your consent to or giving away. It's not the consent, but it's basically taking your responsibility away from them and onto you. Like you just need to know how to navigate that. I can understand why they need to have these checks and balances, but human beings don't fit into standard measurements, and birth is so mysterious and so unpredictable and so unique to the baby and the woman that it's actually impossible. It's like, dare I say, a patriarchal system and approach to birth, which is, it's feminine wisdom, and it's like it's like the magic of the female's body, and our right as a woman to have to be unpredictable, and it just takes the magic away from
Yeah.
birth. I feel when you're trying to, you can go through these and like go through the system and you know tick the boxes and do all of the things that they want you to do, but you have to be aware that there is a likelihood that it could derail the birth that you had in
Yeah.
mind. There needs to be a certain level of responsibility, no matter where you birth and who you have in your birth space. And yeah, I haven't had an experience where I've had just a birth keeper or doula, and not a midwife. But I think, and as we'll come to Mimi's birth, I just it's unique to everyone about who they have at their birth. But the thing is, it's the right to choose that's important. And yeah, I feel like, I mean, I am not completely across what is coming up at the moment. But what I do know is that every birth I have felt different about who I wanted in my space. Like I had no doula with Rose, and then with Solly I had a doula, and that was just unique to like when I really tuned into myself. Sorry. When I really tuned into myself and my needs and what my family needed at that time, it was to have that extra support there. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but it just feels like such a big,
Yeah.
there's my personal perspective on that. And then there's also like, advice to anyone going through.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because it's so individual.
totally.
It's on such an individual basis. And I think something that came up for me while you were speaking then was there is an insertion of fear.
Yeah.
Like if you go through a standardized process and you're going through a system that has a gold standard and boxes to tick, and their career actually rides on if they tick those boxes or not. And it's not so much on your outcomes.
No.
Your outcomes don't really matter to them. If they've ticked all the boxes, they won't get in trouble.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
when you've got a system set up where that is the end result, what is going to happen is women are going to get traumatized.
Yeah.
Like you can't avoid that.
Yeah.
Because not all women need those procedures, but because the birth worker in, the industrial birth worker needs to tick those boxes, women are going to receive procedures completely unnecessarily.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've never had a doula for any of my births. So I ask these questions because I can't give a perspective on my experience with doulas. But at the moment, what is currently out there, and I'm going to butcher this for sure, but my understanding is that they want to bring in legislation to basically ensure that anyone who's unregistered cannot perform any kind of medical procedure. And that list is, I don't know, not very, like,
I think
what is medical procedure is very grey.
Yeah.
So
you made a good point the other day when we were talking about this, actually. You was like, is medical advice you should have a sip of water now, otherwise you'll be dehydrated?
Yes. Yeah.
So like where's the scale of medical advice from?
Exactly. And so and then I mean it goes to all the way to, from a sip of water or putting a blanket on to stay warm,
Yeah.
like to to resuscitating,
Mm.
like neonatal resuscitation if no one is around.
Yeah.
So that it is a big, broad spectrum of what is included as medical advice. And I mean, as someone who worked in the hospital and was a physiotherapist, we had to be really careful of what we said.
Yeah.
If we told someone, like an elderly patient who
Yeah.
had COPD, that they actually need to get up and do some exercise,
Yeah.
like they could fall down and break a hip. So we've just given medical advice by telling them that they need to be up. But if that goes pear-shaped, well, then we're liable. So
Mm.
it's really, yeah. So anyway, I want to break that down because I think it's really important to share a perspective of birth workers, unregistered birth workers versus registered birth workers, what they provide in a space, and why it's actually necessary for women to be allowed that decision to have someone there or not
Yeah.
when they're choosing how they want to give birth.
Yeah.
So anyway, well,
I think that
little rant.
I think I shared recently on the Reconnected, they did like a birth,
Yeah.
I can't even remember, the birthing
Birth-
summit, I think it was called.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Um,
That was for Hygeia Health.
for
Okay.
Hygeia and the Reconnected, I think they partnered in doing, I think it was like the first breath. It was about like creating a beautiful blueprint for babies. And what I spoke on there was about energetic boundaries in pregnancy and birth. But I feel like one of the most important thing for me has been in all of my births is at the very beginning or somewhere along the track to get really clear on what is needed for yourself and for the baby. And no one else can tell you that. Like no one else can decide that for you.
Yeah.
It's something that you need to come, and be with in where you are within your own emotional capacity and what's happening in your field at the time and what you feel prepared, what risks because there's risks everywhere.
Yeah.
There's risks in the hospital system. There's risks if you free birth. There's risks if you home birth. It's like, what am I feeling most grounded in?
Yeah.
And then, really clarifying what that intention is for you and then protecting it with like ferocity because, and that's where I think that coming back to this, the doula and the midwife and these new laws that they're trying to pass, it shouldn't be, it's nobody else's decision. Like
Yes.
it's the woman's decision. And I
Yeah.
think that's what's been lost along the way. Like Nick and I were talking about this the other day, my partner, Nick, and he was like, it's almost like we've lost the mother in birth.
In everywhere, but yes.
In everywhere, but
In everywhere.
in the birth space, it's not about the mother. The mother it's all about protecting the baby, but it's the mother's job to protect the baby. It's things are just a little bit backwards,
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if I 100% agree with him, but it made me think, and I was like, when I saw just like dived into a little bit of these laws that are coming through or they're trying to push through, what is lost for me is like, well, hang on, it's the mother that gets to choose. It's the mother that gets to sit down and clarify for herself what she wants and what her baby wants in union, her birth to look like. It's not for anyone else to decide. Like, if a doula is in the space, like that's my choice, or a doula is not in the space. It's no one should be able to decide that. And that's a part of like taking responsibility for me, that's like being so clear on what your intentions are for your birth and who you want in that space is like so crucial. It's so crucial to the beginning of your baby's life. So yeah, it's like, it's really sad. It's really sad. to have that right taken away. I really hope that it doesn't go through because, yeah, as a first-time mum having a home birth, I can see why a doula or a birth keeper would be so important.
Yeah. I think from my understanding, I don't think they're stopping you being able to get a doula. It's just if the doula gives any medical advice, they're up for being fined or jailed.
But what's it like? But
Yeah,
that's
that
the
is
thing.
so
Like,
ambiguous. My gosh.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
that's it. What are they supposed to do then?
exactly. Yeah. And so, it's going to limit the number of women. I mean, there are women out there who are just like, well, guess what? I'm still going to provide the service, but
Yeah.
a lot of women will not because that is not a risk that they can take. A lot of doulas are mothers to young children.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we will have the fierce warrior women
Mm.
who will still be there. But
Yeah, but won't they just push it this all like birthing on your own terms would mean going so underground,
yeah,
and it shouldn't be like that. It is
Mm.
definitely a control thing that's happening, and
yeah. But they're going to struggle with it because how do you stop women from giving birth?
exactly.
How do you do that? I mean, they've implanted a lot of fear, but now, after so much experience within hospital systems, you have women moving out of the hospital systems because you can insert verbal fear
Yeah.
to get people into a hospital, like get women into the hospital
Yeah.
to birth. But then when you abuse them, you're going to push them back out, and now they have a fear of the hospital.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to stop the woman from giving birth
Yeah.
if she's never stepped foot in a hospital?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
All right. So after that little note, we've got Mimi in.
We've got Mimi.
Little Mimi, congested Mimi.
Mhm.
And I think we should talk about her birth.
Yeah. So, as you know, Keshia very well, that Mimi was very, very, very wanted. I felt like she was flying around the field for a long time before she was conceived, and um, yeah, I actually had between. I mean, just before she was conceived, I had a miscarriage, which yeah, was a very, very different experience to my first. It still was a miscarriage. No, it wasn't. That's a lie. It wasn't a miscarriage. I think I lost the baby at 9 weeks, and I started spotting, and and then it started to progress from there. But the difference in the experience, I feel like, with having the D&C the first time and not having that ritual or the space to process and doing it in a hospital setting is so crazy. It did feel like a birth and a postpartum, and I really created the space around around that miscarriage so that I could really feel it and really be with it. And I stayed home. I was able to stay home and go through the process in my own little sanctuary, and I had friends dropping meals off, and um, yeah, it felt really beautiful and really healing from my first miscarriage. And then the next, no, I always say it was the next cycle, but you've told me recently, you're like, no, it wasn't. Maybe 3 cycles.
Yeah.
So like July, I had the miscarriage, and then
Because
it was Rose's birthday, around the week of Rosie's birthday. I remember because I was like holding this like grief and this joy at the same time. And then I think it was after Beltane, so it was late October that I fell pregnant with Mimi. And gosh, I knew, I feel like I fell pregnant with Mimi. Then we went into the school holidays, that 6-week school holidays, and that's when the morning sickness started, and gosh, it was a time I think that like our family was under a financial stress, and it was just, oh my gosh, it was such a time. But she was such an anchor for me. Like, I just remember her, oh my gosh. It's like she really was, when she was born, I was like, oh my gosh, of course it was you, it was one of those moments. But I decided to birth alone. And I really sat with that decision for a long time, like for a couple of months before. I don't think I really even told anyone. I probably told you. No one really asked me, to be honest. No one cares when it's your fourth baby. It's true. No one, I think maybe like 2 people asked me
Yeah.
at the very end of my pregnancy when I was like 40 weeks. But no one, not once was I asked, like, what are your birth plans? But I was really clear on what I wanted, and it wasn't a decision that we took lightly. Bless Nick. He is such a beautiful man, and so supportive of me, and obviously has witnessed me in the birth space multiple times. And oh, Mimi. Sorry.
We would have picked that one up.
Yeah.
Good one.
So he, has full trust in me. And looking at the way that I have birthed my 3 other children, Bruno was a 6-hour labor, Rose was 4 hours, and Solly was 2 hours. And this is from like, oh, maybe it's starting to baby in arms. So I was quite confident. Lol. I was quite confident that Mimi was just going to,
You sneeze her out.
just sneeze her out.
Yep.
Remember, I had blankets in the car.
Yeah. Yes.
Because I'm
Yes.
I'm going to have her at the
In a parking lot.
in the parking lot at school, and I'm going to have all of the mums trying to be my birth support.
Yeah. Which was happening anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was pretty sure that she was just gonna, come out like a rocket. And so I was like, no one's gonna make it anyway, and we've got to prepare to do this on our own. And I was just really, I was like, I'm not fighting this time. I don't want to worry about someone else coming into my space. That's what I knew. I don't want to have to navigate anyone else's emotions. I don't want to have to navigate saying, like, I don't know, just advocating for myself. I don't want to have to, the word that just kept on coming through to me was like simple, 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 simple throughout the whole pregnancy. And Nick and I sat down and had some really, really big conversations. Like, we really didn't take the decision lightly. And he spoke about his fears, and we together got to a place where we were really comfortable with any outcome, and we're, able to take full responsibility. This time, having a doula in the space to support was just a hard no for me. And I love doulas. I love them, and I think they're amazing, and what a beautiful service they offer to women who need them. But it was just, I really had to interrogate the reasons why I wanted to have a free birth. And I made sure that I was so clear on that. And personally, I thought if I had another person in the space, it would almost dilute my, I don't know, it's not my intention, but it would dilute the vision that I had for my birth with Mimi, which I knew, I really felt that she was calling in for us. And for Nick as well, because we talked about it a little bit because I thought maybe he would need that support. But we always came back to, having someone extra in the space. I can feel like, I think it's really hard because it's just my personal experience and why we decided it. It was like, if anything, I wanted any decision that was made in that birth space to be ours. And I didn't want to be able to externally reach outside of myself for an answer of what I should be doing or where we should be going to. Does that make sense?
It does. And can I just add to that? Because
Yes, please.
that's kind of how I felt
Yeah.
as well. Because when you're going into birth, if there was a bad outcome and that happened because you had externally reached out to someone else to make the decision for you, and this is just how I feel personally, I would still feel responsible because I didn't take initiative, because I didn't, like, that was my responsibility and I outsourced it to someone else.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about having other people in my space, because I also know that I'm such a people pleaser. Anyone that says anything in my space, especially when you're as vulnerable as when you're in labor, I'd take that on board 100%.
Yeah.
And it would 100% affect my decision. Whereas I feel like if no one's there, I'm actually quite trigger friendly when it comes to, like, if I feel like I need a doctor or it's out of my scope of practice, like I can't handle this situation, so quickly we would be off. We would be out of there. We would be off, and we'd be getting the help that we needed.
Yeah. So we Nick and I took it upon ourselves to be like really as educated as possible in what the red flags would be for us, and then we sat down and spoke about like, if this happens, we do this. If this happens, we do this. If this happens, we do this, and we got same page on that. And it wouldn't, I don't think if I had a birth keeper or a doula or any other support person in the space, I don't think I would be asking them for advice. But even a comment would penetrate me. I just know that about myself. A comment would swing the energy of
An eye
the
roll,
space.
a sigh, a deep sigh.
Anything.
Yeah.
Anything. And it just felt really important for me to be able to harness all of my energy inwards rather than worrying about other people. And, even it's so funny because I don't like to be touched. I'm like really like to be left alone. And I'm very happy to be rude to Nick and tell him to go away, But I probably wouldn't, just the person that I am, I'd be like, oh, thank you so much for that water. I probably wouldn't, but, I don't even want to navigate that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we decided not to have anyone in the space. And, I'm so happy. I can't even imagine it being any other way. Mimi ended up coming at 41 weeks, like on the dot, like Rose and Bruno did, 41 weeks on the dot. And I remember this time, maybe, being my fourth baby, 38 when she was born, and I got to 36 weeks and I just felt so tired. And all I wanted to do was rest. And we had just got our fireplace installed and we were sleeping out in the lounge room. And it was winter, so it was in August and or July that last month. And we spent so much time, like every night we slept out in front of the fire. It was just such a beautiful time. It's such a slow time. And I remember I was going through like days of activity and doing things and then a day of like complete rest and just so in tune with what I needed. The house was still chaotic, school holidays, and it definitely, like, I wasn't, I'm the type of person that needs a lot of space and time to myself. So bless my mum. My mum's on the Gold Coast, and she came down and would take the kids. And my sister-in-law, bless her, was helping a lot too. And I just had that a little bit of time to myself towards the end, which was just so invaluable. And just that time really to tune in. And I remember like the day that she was born, my mum had come over, we cleaned the house together. She took the kids out. I think I had a bath, like it was so beautiful. It was raining outside, and my big boy Bruno, he had come down with something, and he was staying at my brother's house because they were away. And I was so sad because he really wanted the space. He's like, I just need a night away because it's so chaotic here. So my mum stayed with him, and I remember going into labour that night. I went into labour at like 12, and the first thing I said to Nick was, I'm so sad that he's not here. And also, I'm so tired. If I go into labour now. And interestingly, like compared to my other births, I didn't feel, and I don't know exactly why. I mean, I've got a couple of theories. I never felt like ready for birth. With my others, there was an urgency. And I wonder, it could be that I was in the system and I felt that urgency because I didn't want to be induced, or I didn't want the pressure to be induced, or I wanted to have a home birth and not go to Tweed, like I didn't have those external pressures with me. So I never had this like, all right, baby, come on, let's do this. I'm ready to get you out. I just felt like, oh, I'm too tired to birth today. That's really how I felt. And I think that was like, one of the first things I said to Nick when I started to go into labour. But I remember going to labour. It was a full moon. It was so beautiful, so still outside. And I remember like sitting down at my birth altar, and I meditated for a little bit, and then I finally woke up Nick, and we had a little snuggle. It was really nice. And
Snuggle code.
yeah. Like, did I have an orgasmic birth? And then after that, my contractions started, and like properly, and I was like, okay, it's like definitely on here. And like Nick started tending to the fire and doing the manly things. That and
Nick.
Yeah, Nick. And we were just on the mattresses, and I was like labouring, and I think maybe at 3:00 I'm like, oh, I'm going through transition. And I could feel I've experienced what I thought was transition, or what I've like recognized to be transition in my other births, like that kind of surge of adrenaline. And then I got the urge to push. So I was like, okay, 3-hour labor. I'm like, that's pretty, and, went into the bathroom, and it's kind of in and out of the bath. And it's so funny because I didn't get a birthing pool because too much.
Simple.
There was too much. I didn't want it. And then my bath is so narrow. I really probably should have got a birthing pool, but we didn't. And there are pros to that because you can empty out the tub very easily and like fill it up very easily. So I had clean water every time I went in. So I went through transition. I started to push, and then I was like, this feels a bit different. Like I'm pushing. But then I would have another contraction, and it was like very expanding contraction. And then I would get a pushing contraction, and then I'd get like an expansion contraction. And I was kind of feeling like I had to get on all of these different positions. Like I was going from the bathtub to the mattress, like up and down the hallway. The rooster starts crowing. I knew at that point that I'd been pushing much longer than I usually had, which was with all of them about 10 minutes.
Mm.
And I was like, gosh, something's going on. I'm not sure what it is. And I never really vocalized anything to Nick. There was one point that he said to me, you're not really getting in any rhythm like you normally do. And I just remember looking at him like, thanks for that feedback. But yeah, I did feel like I had like, it was on my back. I had my leg up in the air at one point. I was in the bath. I was like squatting. There was like all sorts of things were happening. And I could start to feel the bulge. And I was like, okay, she's coming. She's coming. The sun was rising at that point. So I'd been pushing for quite some time, like from 3 to 6 a.m., 3 hours or something. And every time I could feel the bulge come, I put my hand up and I felt the sac. And I was like, oh, she's going to be born in a sac. That's what's happening. I was like, okay, all right, that's what's happening. She hasn't broken the waters. My waters haven't broken, or the sac, I'm like, maybe the sac's too thick. And I had all of these things coming through my head. And I was so in the present moment, like that, time is not a thing.
Mm.
But in my mind, I was like, the next thing I'm going to do is just put my finger and break the sac, and then she's going to come straight out. And I hadn't said anything to Nick about that. I just kind of like internalized it. And there wasn't one point during the time that I was ever worried about her. I felt like I was in constant communication with her, and I felt so I don't know, in tune with my body, and there was nothing, there was just no fear. It was just I was just in it, like at the center of time, and then the kids woke up, and they kind of kept, Rose kind of kept her distance. I had breakfast and they were like playing with blocks and things, and Solly decided, he would be really involved in the birth. And he was he stayed by me. It was very sweet. And
He's 3 for
he's
everyone
3.
listening.
3-year-old. So Nick was getting breakfast get breakfast ready, but Solly was there, and then he'd be like, "You okay, Mum?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." And then he'd go and run off. And I thought things were slowing down. Like the space between my contractions was just stretching, and there was this one point where I was in the bath, and it was so just magical because it was completely still, like the water. I remember just like trying to be as still as I could lying there, and I just like don't even know where I was going. I was like having this fully psychedelic, magical, faraway land experience, and it was like just listening to the rain outside, and I was like, okay, I'm kind of falling asleep, and I was like, all right, I'm either going to have a really big contraction or they're slowing down completely. And then I've all of a sudden just felt it, and it like starts to come, and I was like, oh, here it comes. And I had this massive contraction and nothing happened. And then I laid down again, and it was like another 10 minutes, and I just laid there, and I went back into my little psychedelic experience in the bath where I was trying to be as still as possible and just listen to the rain, and I fell asleep again. And then I could feel like the power and the intensity of this contraction coming. I was like, wow, this is even bigger. And I just remember sitting up slowly and just holding the edge of the bath, and it was like, whoa. And then her head just popped out. And I remember looking up, and Solly was just standing like at the edge of the bath, and he's like, "Mum, the head's out." Like, go get your dad. Go get your dad. And yeah, he ran down the hallway and he was like, "Dad, Dad, Dad." And Nick came in, and yeah, I just kind of had like one leg up and one leg to the side because my bath is so narrow. And yeah, one contraction later, she just came out, and Nick kind of like scooped her up, and that was it. And she was here. And yeah, I remember Nick, like the relief on his face. He's like, "You did it." I'm like, "I did it." And we I didn't know this, but Nick had called my mum to say, could you come over and pick up the kids? Because he was struggling. He didn't know whether he should be with me or with the kids, and he didn't want to interrupt me. So he just made the call. He's like, I'm just going to get her to come. And apparently my mum walked in and was like, where's your doula? Because no one asked me what my birth plans were, not even my mother. So
They left.
Nick's like, we didn't have one. She's like, oh, and she thinks a doula's a midwife, so that's funny too. And then, I was just like, at that point, Nick had already taken me into the bedroom, and I was just lying there with her on my chest, and I looked up and Bruno was standing next to me, and I was like, oh my God, you're here. And I remember just being so happy that he made it. And I looked up and my mum was there, and I was like, wow, everyone really is here. And it was really beautiful. And I always thought she was a girl, but I hadn't checked yet. So I got to check whether she was a girl. And like the first person I looked at, like everyone was in the room, but the first person I looked at was my mum. And it was such a beautiful moment. We both burst into tears, and it was such a like healing moment for both of us, I think. And, just to carry on that red thread and for her to be a part of it. And then it was just like any other day. Like, my mum she took a little bit longer to get over to our house because she stopped to get bacon and eggs. So she just stayed at home. She was going to take the kids, but she ended up just staying there, and she cooked the kids like bacon and eggs, and cooked for Nick. And I just went back to my little posse by the fire, and and that's where we stayed for a couple of days, just in front of the fire. It was like so beautiful. But the day after she was born, Tani came over, our friend, and she was talking to Nick in the kitchen, and Nick was telling the birth story, and he was like, wow, yeah. And then her eyes came out looking at me when like her whole face emerged, and she was looking at me, and Tani was like, oh, that means she was posterior. So she came out completely posterior, and I had no idea.
Little stargazer.
And it's so interesting to reflect on, because I mean, all of the typical things that I've heard about posterior births, like the extreme back pain, the length of the labor. Yes, I did have a longer labor, like it was 8 hours in total, but nothing, extreme. And I think had I had anyone in that space who even dropped in the word posterior to me, I think I would have spiraled a little bit. Like it would have taken me out. And then I was, for reflecting on that now, I'm like, well, that's why I never felt like I needed anyone in there, because who knows what would have happened if I just had that little seed of doubt. But I didn't have any back pain, like nothing. And crazy, hey?
I kind of don't want your birth story to end. It was
That is the end.
That's magical.
I know.
I
know. And then it just kind of rippled into a just beautiful postpartum that I never thought was possible. Like I didn't leave the house for 5 weeks or something,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just never, with 4 kids, you don't think. I was like, I'll be back on the school run next week. But so
we had your back.
We did. Thank you, women in my life. So lucky.
No, it was so wonderful. I can't remember how old she was when I did the first meal drop.
3 days.
3 days, really? Oh my God, I got in there.
I stayed a poet, and then like, you Meadow, and because remember poet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, was that really 3 days?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What was I thinking? I
couldn't
couldn't wait. I wanted to drop you a meal. But I think like one of the biggest standouts for me when I walked into your space, and I'm so careful about going into someone's space, I'm like, if you don't want me in there, like, I like kept it that much distance, because I was just like, you've got like this aura of just perfect, and I don't want to like disrupt it at all. but walking in there, it was just so normal and easy and simple. It was very simple.
Yeah.
And you were getting up and I was like, no, get back. Back into bed.
Yeah.
But it was yeah.
It was. And I think, I made that postpartum so energetically clean. Like I just, even though we have, 4 kids now, but 3 kids, 3 big kids, it just, I don't know, the space just felt really calm and serene, and there was like reverence and to the house. It was just so magical, like what it did for them. I don't know, everyone was in that oxytocin, and I think the age of my kids, Bruno being 8 and Rose is 6, that they could really see that, wow, they've, like, mum's just gone through a really big thing, and all of her women are turning up, looking after her. And they were like, what has happened? And what a beautiful imprint. I think Solomon told everyone about all of the blood. And
Yeah, no, that I was when you were telling me about the story, because I obviously heard it first from Solly, I think 2 days later.
Yeah,
And he came in
on the Monday.
Yeah, and he came in to playgroup and he was just like, she was in the bath and the head just popped out. Just popped out. And then she was like, and then he goes, it was so much blood. And I was just like, we're going to process this later, little man. But
the cord, he was like fascinated by the cord. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so magical. But it is, and it, like, what a journey you have been on to come from. It's like incremental steps. I feel like I did the same.
Yeah.
Incremental steps. Well, because I mean, I did all of my prenatal and postnatal within the hospital system, even though I free birthed at home.
Yeah.
There was still that connection. So it was incremental steps.
Yeah, but I think for me, like, because I'd gone through it so many times and I'd never had a health complication. There's a lot of things that led me to the decision to do it on my own, and it was the right decision for me and for us. And I often think, like, I've done a lot of inner work and a lot of prep in my pregnancies, and to invite someone else into the space that maybe hasn't done the same level of work, it's a bit terrifying. But yeah, I know that was just the right thing for our family, and I cannot imagine it any other way. Yeah.
She's such a sweet little bean too.
Squishy.
All right, Ange, thank you. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for coming in and sharing with us. And Mimi, thank you so much for being so patient with us. You are a kinesiologist. Would you like to share with everyone what you do, when you'll be back, if you'll be back?
I will be back. It's interesting because, I feel like it's going to be a little bit different when I get back. I don't know how, though. I just have this feeling that my offering's going to be slightly different. But at the moment, or not at the moment, before I had Mimi, I was working with women predominantly. I saw a lot of women in their pregnancies and preparing for birth, and also processing birth and any birth trauma. And I'm obviously deeply passionate about birth and women and kinesiology. So it's just a beautiful, little mix. I'm thinking about, I'm about to launch energetic boundaries for pregnancy and birth workshop. That'll just be an online thing. And I'm working on, which has been so long in the making, like a self-clearing course, which is not just for pregnant women or birthing women, but for all people and children, learning how to do some kinesiology clearing at home. So that's where I'm at. And then I think from probably February next year, I'll start taking clients on again. I've got people asking, and I'm like, I'm still 3 months postpartum. But I think when Mimi's a little bit older and I can, do a session here and there, and I just incrementally build up from Feb. So, yeah, that's what I do.
So wonderful. Thank you again for sharing. Birth stories are so informative.
I know.
And really important for women to hear. And I think even listening to someone else's birth story, you can almost heal your own trauma. Like there is something about it that, I mean, I got transported to my own births just listening to you. And like even just those feelings, like, like when you're listening to someone speak about it and they're in it, you're like, oh yeah. Oh, I remember that. But there's something about it too, that when you can alchemize someone else's story into your own, I don't know, it shines another light on how you've experienced birth.
Yeah, for sure.
And I love being able to do that.
Yeah.
And for everyone else, absolutely. So thank you so much for coming in.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
And thank you everyone for joining us. Thanks for joining me today. If this ignited a flame for you, please share, follow the show, and leave a review. The more support and subscriptions the show gets, the more powerful and credentialed guests I can bring on to deepen these conversations. I appreciate you being here, and I will see you next week.